Come on, bring her up.
Well, welcome to everybody here today. I am State Senator Dennis Guth, and I'm just really pleased to be able to be here and welcome Senator Joni Ernst to Wright County. She's going on a 99-county tour, and that's got to be quite a chore. She was born and raised in Montgomery County, Iowa. Then in November 2014, Senator Ernst was elected to be the first woman to serve in federal elected office from the state of Iowa, and also became the first female combat veteran elected to serve in the United States Senate. She is a retired lieutenant colonel in the Iowa National Guard. In Washington, Senator Ernst serves on 5 Senate committees of major importance to Iowans: Armed Services, Agriculture, Nutrition and Forestry, Environment and Public Works, Small Business and Entrepreneurship, and the Judiciary. I'd like to add that when I was a freshman in Des Moines as a state senator, Senator Ernst had been there for about 2 years ahead of me already. And I remember one morning, first week, I didn't know the whole procedure yet. And one of the Democrats, I believe it was Joe Bolton, who got up to attack the Second Amendment and was talking about President Obama and Joe Biden. And I was just about ready to crawl out of my skin. I didn't know how to respond. And I wasn't even sure if I was allowed to respond at this point yet. I hadn't figured out all the procedures. And Joni stood to the floor and did a marvelous job of defending our Second Amendment rights and explaining how she was a part of the organized militia, but the Second Amendment is really for the unorganized militia. So I just have a great memory and great memories of serving with her, and really ask you all to give her a warm welcome this morning. Thank you.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. It is, oh yes, I'm sorry, the pledge.
Excuse me, I forgot about my next duty here. Please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks so much, Dennis. Very good to see you again. And I want to thank everybody for being here today and for coming out on this hot and humid afternoon. But what we're going to do, the way we normally do the town halls, is we just dive right into questions. I'm not going to start with any opening statements. I want to spend as much time hearing from you and getting to your questions. If you did not fill out a card on your way in and you would like to ask a question, just go ahead and raise your hands, and the staff will bring the card around for you. So we'll go ahead, Justin will go ahead and read off the names. And let's see, John has got the microphone. He'll hang on to it for you so you can read your statement or ask your question. Well, go ahead, Justin. Thank you.
First question will be from Kyle Cruz, and the second question will be from Doug Lowenberg.
Okay, go ahead, Kyle.
Hello. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court heard a case striking down the ACA, and we'll find out the ruling sometime in the near future. I want to know, what is the plan if that does happen? It has been 9 years with no replacement plan as of yet. Trump has said many times it would be a great plan, but no specifics. He also said it would be after the 2020 election. Why wait if it's so good? And how are we really supposed to believe him when he has told so many lies? I believe the count is well over 10,000 today.
For the ACA, if it would happen to be struck down, we don't know if it's just going to be pieces or the entirety. We're not certain of that. But what we would probably do is go back. There were a number of plans that were presented at the time we were going through the repeal and replace process in the United States Senate. And so a number of those plans included things like opening up our borders for insurance, so you're creating larger markets. Right now we can purchase other forms of insurance over state lines, but we can't purchase health insurance over state lines. So that would be part of one of those plans. Being able to do health plans, if you would choose to purchase those. One thing we need to make clear is make sure we're covering pre-existing conditions. And the way we had planned to do that, one of the bills that I was a co-sponsor on, and it was a bipartisan bill, a lot of these were bipartisan ideas that were presented, we just didn't get the majority vote at the time, was what was called an invisible risk pool plan, which is what the state of Maine had in place. And so Susan Collins was the primary sponsor on that bill. And what that would do is if someone was at risk for disease or maybe like say diabetes, they would go into an invisible risk pool. That person would not even know that they were being included in a risk pool. They'd pay the same rate as anybody else that had that same type of insurance plan. And what would happen is when the insurance companies had caps, if you were approaching that cap, you would just roll over into that risk pool. And at that point, instead of the insurance company paying out on those claims, then that state government would start paying out on those claims. So that's how the state of Maine did it. It was a very successful system, but the ACA actually did away with it. So what part of the plan was when we reinstate those types of plans. So a number of states had similar plans as well. They seemed to work. So going back, we would revisit, I'm sure, a number of the plans that were presented at the time we were doing the ACA repeal and replace. Again, at that time, we didn't have a majority that would say, or 60 votes that would say, these are the plans we want to replace the ACA with. So we still have some work to do, pre-existing conditions. I'm going to lay it out there. I haven't heard of any senator that has said they want to get rid of taking care of those with pre-existing conditions. I fully support those that have pre-existing conditions, and we want to make sure they're covered. So there are a number of plans out there. What we have to do is come together as Republicans and Democrats and make sure that we are finding the plan that will actually work and make sense so that everybody does have fair coverage across the United States.
Or should we have something specific right now, just in case it does come out?
We do have a number of those plans already. And again, some of those will be very similar to the ones that we voted on a couple of years ago. But again, we need to come back together and start whipping people, what they call whipping, finding out which plans people are going to support in order to move those forward.
Next question is Doug Lauenberg, and then followed by Shannon Walker.
Yes, Senator, I've been kind of baffled with Mitch McConnell's actions lately, blocking and securing the voting process, the hacking of our voting.
I'm sorry, can you say that again, please?
Okay, I'm baffled by Mitch McConnell's actions lately, why we're not securing our voting system more securely.
Okay, the election systems? Okay, the election systems are actually run by the states. So maybe what you're referring to is the overall oversight of the federal government as far as working with those states.
I think he blocked a bill the other day about, they brought up a bill where we go back to paper so we can recount the votes and make sure.
Okay. Well, I don't know that he blocked a bill on that. There are a number of bills that have been. Okay, there's a lot of misinformation, I think, that exists out there. One, elections are a right that is left up to the states. So every state operates their own election system independent of the federal government. So that is a duty that's left up to the states. So the United States cannot go in and take over a state's election system. That's why we all have independent secretaries of state or commissioners of elections. Here in the state of Iowa, we do use paper ballots, so that if we have to go in and recount, we can. The Iowa system is one of the best systems in the United States, and I would say we would encourage other states to utilize this type of system because it can't be hacked because we have those paper ballots. We do know that in the past, as in 2016, 2018, and as we look forward to 2020, we do know that there are foreign governments that will want to try and interfere with our elections. So the federal government partners with our state governments, and again, those commissioners of elections or those secretary of states, to make sure that as they are safeguarding any sort of database, here in Iowa, what we do online, we do have voter registration that is online. And so if there are anomalies or they can tell somebody is trying to get into that data center, the voter registration centers, then that is reported to the federal government. And the federal government works in concert then with the state to try and find out who that actor is and push back against it. So we already do work in conjunction with state governments, but again, the state governments are in charge of their own elections. That is the responsibility of those states. So we are working together with our partners at the state level to make sure we are blocking any type of foreign entity or even those that are domestically located, people that try to get into those types of systems. So yes, I think Iowa, because we use paper ballots and we have a very secure system, this is the way all of our states should go. But the federal government, at this point, we really can't dictate that to the states. We can push it out as a best practice, and I think other states should follow. I know other states have actually come to the state of Iowa to observe the way we do business, because again, it is going to be one of the top systems you will find in the United States. So really, we do have a good system, and I would agree that other states should do that. There are ways we can partner from the federal government to the state government, and we should do all that we can to make sure we're protecting our election system.
Next question is from Shannon Walker, and then followed by Mrs. Russell from Fort Dodge.
Good afternoon, Senator Ernst. Thank you for holding this town hall. I haven't yet had the opportunity to attend one in my home county, so thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity. I enjoyed speaking to you before the Jewel event last year. I had planned on talking about the same topic this time, which I will touch on, but I want to address something more urgent after that. The first issue is climate change. A consensus of scientists have agreed that climate change is undeniable and is exacerbated by human activity. To deny this is irresponsible and malicious, not to mention steeped in greed. If a political party gets more than 60% support, it is considered a mandate. 97% of scientists agree on the basic tenets of climate change. That debate is over. The debate about what has to be resolved is also resolved. Now we just need to enact policies that implement the provisions of the Paris Climate Accord. Continued denial and obstruction will cost even more lives and impact the environment to the detriment of life